In this video, I'm going to be making some really useful items out of scrap wood. I will be using the lathe for a couple of them, but the final one could potentially have a few different uses. So let's get on with it. The wood that I'm using here is an old handrail that was on the stairs. It's made out of pine, so it's actually a good piece to practice with. I should mention that this first project is a drawer knob. I have thought about making some on the lathe, as I need quite a few, but I wasn't sure what style to do. So I just took one off one of the drawers and used that as a guide. It didn't take long when using the roughing gouge, but that was partly due to the wood already being round, apart from one flat side and also the pain to take off. And yes, I am using my chest cam rig. I did only use it for the first project as I wasn't sure what the footage would look like. I thought I had adjusted the camera enough to maintain a good view. However, you'll see that when I'm using the gouges, the camera does tend to focus on my hand. I'll have to adjust that in the future. What do you think of this style of footage? Let me know in the comments below. One thing that I thought about after I finished this little project is I have some miniature gouges and they could have been quite good for working on the finer details. I just gave it a sanding with 80 grit, followed by using some cutting board oil. I don't really know why I used a cutting board oil. I guess it was just close to hand. For this project, I thought it was a great idea to use two different pieces of scrap. I think it was ash and Iroko, and the intention was to make some napkin holders. How does it all go? Well, it's not as easy as the drawer knob, but again, thinking about it, I reckon that it's because of the grain direction, which you can see from when I was doing the glue up. I just never properly thought about it. I was more concerned about how it could look in the end. It's just another one to add to the book of lessons. You can see what I mean about the grain direction with how little I was taking off with a roughing gouge. Also, when I was using the lathe, the banjo, the part that the tool rest goes into, kept becoming loose due to a pin dropping out of the locking mechanism.
A few moments later.
One thing that is good about all of this is visualizing what you're trying to make, and then the final result actually resembles it. Originally I was going to have beads on either end of each holder, but as I don't have an actual bead gouge, I think there's actually a gouge for nearly everything. Then I wasn't too sure how I was going to achieve it. So instead I just blended it all in to have both sides of the holder looking smooth. Using the Forstner bit, straight away I had to choose what size bit to use. Now I have a Forstner bit set that I bought when I got started in woodworking, and they were about £30 for a set of 5. So you know that they won't be the best and you can buy better individual ones. Well, I do have a better one, but I couldn't remember which one it is. However, I think I can safely say it wasn't the one that I used. Why do I even mention it? Well, it might have worked a little better, but would have been a smaller diameter. Now, another issue to mention about this lathe, whenever I've tried to use a Forstner or drill bit on the lathe, it doesn't work well. When I turn the tailstock wheel, then the whole of the tailstock moves backwards, even though it is fully locked down. Maybe I should do a video on the issues with this lathe. I will include some good bits as well. So when the lathe fails, over to the drill press, but I had a brain fart on securing the piece well, as it would seem that I didn't have it straight enough as the drilled holes went off a bit. As with the doorknob, I just sanded it to 80 grit and used the cutting board oil. Spoiler, I applied the finish at the same time as I did with the doorknob. Now we're on to the final project, making a plant pot holder, which is naturally different from the plant stand that I made in a previous video. This is a great project for when you have been to the garden centre and bought some plants that are too small to put straight in the garden. Or maybe it's around springtime and it's too cold. With this project you can pot up some of those plants and help them grow indoors before transferring them into the garden later on. The design for this is very basic and naturally does not have to be restricted to 3 pots. You can make it for as many or as few as you want. I just did it for 3 as an example. I did spend a bit of time ensuring that the pots were centered and well spaced out. The hole saw that I'm using is one that I had to order from Amazon just to do this project. It has a diameter of 80mm and the maximum diameter that I already own was 50mm. It is a cheap one, but it did the job. The reason why I'm doing a bit of hand carving is only due to the end support overlapping a bit with the top. If I left it, then it would be in the way of the plant pot. It's always good though to be able to break out the carving gouges for a normal project. When we get the assembly, it's one of the easiest ones to do, as I only use glue and nails. You can just use glue, or if you wish, even screws. The first item I made was a drawer knob, using a piece of an old stair handrail. I have got quite a few drawers in the workshop without knobs on, so now I only have to get to work on making some more knobs. Next up is a couple of napkin holders. As I mentioned in the video, I did have some issues with the lathe, especially when it comes to using the forcing bit. But hopefully one day I will get that sorted out. And then finally, we have the plant pot holder. It's really useful for when you have small plants you've just bought at the garden centre and it's the beginning of the year, so you don't really want to put them out in the garden. So it's good for bringing the plants on indoors. Also, the multi-use is a pint pot holder. So when you're having guests over at a party, you could carry 3 pint pots in it. I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, then please check out this one, which was one of my earlier scrapwood videos. And until the next time, Gang Candyman.